kept thinking like, wow, how great would it be if everyone had access to this information? And then I just kind of thought, well, who's to say people can't have access to that information?
Hey, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am here with Jake Ryan. He's an author of the book. I don't even know the name of the book.
Be Your Own Therapist.
Be Your Own Therapist. So, how did you derive to that name?
It actually, for the longest time, the working title was You Don't Need a Therapist. The idea I had was that most people just need a little bit of direction. Given the right tools, they can figure out how to do it themselves. I did get some feedback from people that it would be more helpful if I called it something positive, so I came up with Be Your Own Therapist. The idea being that, yeah, you're able to do all the things you need to do yourself and get your life going the direction you want it to get going.
So the data and knowledge you accumulated to produce your own book, become an author, how did you get to that point?
Yeah, so I was getting my master's in marriage and family therapy. As I was learning this stuff, I kept thinking like, wow, how great would it be if everyone had access to this information? And then I just kind of thought, well, who's to say people can't have access to that information? I don't think everyone necessarily needs to go get the master's themselves, but I started reading some books by mainstream self-help authors that seemed to line up with some of the models that I was studying in my program. And the idea just kind of formed over time. And yeah, I was able to point out some resources to people to figure out, hey, if this is a perspective that feels comfortable to you, here's how to use it more effectively so that you can kind of create some lasting and meaningful change in your life.
So it sounds like you have like a particular method when it comes to therapy. What would you say your approach is to therapy?
Well, my preferred approach is actually most aligned with a model called narrative therapy, which looks at the story that people have of themselves. And very commonly people might see themselves as, let's say, a victim. They don't necessarily realize that that's the story they have of themselves. But the problem with that view is every new experience that happens gets filtered through that lens of victimhood so that it fits into their story. Something doesn't go their way, it's something that confirms their story. If something does happen to go their way, they kind of discount it and they kick it out of the story because it doesn't make sense to the story they do have. So a story can definitely be limiting in how you see yourself and what options you feel are available to you. So this model of therapy, the one I prefer to work with, helps people open up and expand their story so that they can make room for more possibility.
I see. And of course you do that in a positive way.
Of course, yeah. We look for, well, this is your current story, what would your preferred story look like? And try to find outcomes that are, we call them unique outcomes, times when the problem that you're dealing with could have held you back at a certain point in life, but for one reason or another, you found the strength, the willpower within you to not let that problem win. And we start to shift more focus to those unique outcomes until that becomes your true story.
Very cool. Why do you choose the word story? Is that kind of like something that's in the industry that you choose, of therapy, or is that just kind of your word?
That word is actually specific to narrative.
Oh, okay.
Like a narrative of a literary character, we really like to drag out the story, kind of expand it, play it out, see, hey, how's your story going to look if nothing changes? And then the problem is painted as it's actually externalized. So the problem is an extra character in your story. It's a character who pretends to be your friend, but really it doesn't have your best interests.
But really, they're just trying to take your Netflix password.
Basically, that and a lot more. Yes, it has its own agenda, and the more you listen to it, the less you like your life.
Oh, I see. It's all about like getting rid of the toxic people and whatnot.
Yeah, or any problem. Anxiety can be externalized. You imagine it as like a little monster that's whispering things on your shoulder, and you get tricked into believing it, but it's just not helpful. Alcoholism can be externalized, or even in a relationship, financial problems or distrust, really anything, even racism and internalized homophobia can be externalized.
So all the knowledge you've gained from here, has it always just been here in the San Diego area, or did you travel abroad, or?
Yeah, I was actually fortunate that my dad was in the Navy growing up, so I got to moved all up and down both coasts of this country, lived in Japan for 3 years,
oh, wow.
and the Middle East for 2 years during some formative years in my youth. And I'd say seeing America from the outside looking in is a lot different than being in it. And I'd say an experience that not a lot of white people have is being a minority and really experiencing that and saying, I don't like the stuff that other people try to put on me. It conflicts with the view I want to have of myself. And so all that kind of came together to get me to where I am today.
Cool. Out of all the places you lived, what was your favorite? Other than San Diego, obviously.
Yeah, San Diego's pretty great. I've been here about 16 years. I'm going to be here for a little bit longer. I'd say Japan was pretty cool. Got to hike Mount Fuji. The food was good. The people were really nice. It was a wonderful place to live.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So with the book, how did you actually begin writing? Did you kind of just wake up one day and say, well, I need to write, I need to empower more people to heal themselves and whatnot?
It started with that motivation, and that motivation did stick through the entire writing of the book. There were about 3 false starts to this book before I finally landed on something that did work. At first I started writing about different values like justice and responsibility and stuff like that. The writing felt a little stale. After churning out maybe about 50 pages, I felt like that idea had run its course. I knew I wanted to write a book still, so I kind of sat with the idea for a month, had another idea, ran with that for a little bit, it didn't work, and I just decided to take a break from writing for a few months, and then just my mind kept thinking about it in the background, and eventually a form just kind of took shape, and I was like, this is it, this is how I'm going to make it work. And over the next like 14, 15 months, I just sat at my computer, any spare moment I got, the book just felt like it flowed out of me, and I was really happy with how it came together.
That spare months where you took a break, do you think that was absolutely necessary to get to where you are today?
I think so, yeah. I was trying to force something that didn't feel like it was happening at first, and when I really found my flow, it was important to me to only write when I felt like motivated to write. I think it shows in the writing if it's forced, and this being my first book, if I get a writing contract with a publisher, I'll never have the freedom again to write at my own schedule, write it the way that I want, and so I really just wanted to enjoy the experience, not rush it, just let it be what it was, and yeah, I'm really happy with how it came out.
So you said first book, is this kind of like...
Oh, I got plenty of other ideas. Yeah.
Okay.
The next book's going to be a book called Some White Guy Mansplains Intersectional Feminism.
Some white guy something. I don't know what he just said, but whatever he said, yeah.
Yeah, just I really care about how people interact. I want to put some books out there that help people see things differently, become more loving, accepting, willing to work with each other, and just get us to a point where we can appreciate each other's differences rather than fear them.
I see. So it's all about just like humanity harmoniously working together.
Yeah. We are different, and those differences matter, but I think that the ways that we're similar matter more.
There was a music artist, Pharrell. His quote was, "Our differences are our superpower," which I thought was always very profound. Yeah. If you look at just America, we're a huge melting pot of backgrounds, colors, heights, weights, everything. And it's just about accepting those for who you are, and it's just essentially using that as your superpower.
Agreed. Yeah, America's an interesting country in that it is one of the most diverse countries, if not the most diverse country, in the world, and yet it seems to, at least factions of it, seem to fear its diversity when we should get to a point when we can appreciate and celebrate that diversity. I know I wouldn't want to live in a world where everyone is exactly like everyone else. That just seems boring as hell.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Where can your propagation of your book, is it just on, I don't know, how's it being sold right now?
So, just finished it a few weeks ago, so right now there's a link on my Instagram. I am working on getting a cover design so I can put out a hard copy of the book, contacting Amazon to see about selling a Kindle version, as well as once I have the physical product, selling it there. Really just exploring any avenues I can think of to get it in the hands of people. I think everyone can benefit from it, and I want to make it as widely available as possible.
When you say anyone, do you think that anyone can benefit from this book, whether they believe they're mentally stable, healthy, and the best freaking relationship ever?
Yeah, I think we all have some room we can grow. Carl Rogers, one of the therapists I covered in the book, he's the founder of a model called person-centered therapy, he actually used the term self-actualizing the person as opposed to self-actualized, because he felt that self-actualizing was a lifelong process. He said, we're never done becoming who we're meant to be, just learning to get in a state of flow. So no matter how good you think your life is right now, it could always be, 1, 2, 3, 10 notches better. It just, it depends on how much effort you're willing to put in to attacking your personal demons and making that commitment to personal growth.
It just depends on essentially how bad you want it.
That's exactly what it comes down to. You got to find the proper motivation. The book provides 10 different models for people, with the recognition that we do all look at the world differently. But I think it's enough variance in there that each person can find something in there that works for them, and find ways to just make their life what they want it to be.
And is there influence of that methodology in your book for your own therapist?
Yes, so I cover 10 different models, as well as by the end of it, it was a really personal experience learning all these models. It stemmed from my insecurity of my own ability to be a therapist. I was nearing the end of my master's program, about to start an internship, and I kind of thought, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know if I learned all there is to learn. So I partially did it for other people, but it was also really motivated by learning all this stuff for myself. And so by the end of it, I recognized I wasn't the same person I was when it began. And so there's a chapter on my own view, how I approach therapy, my views that I have of people in general and change. So there's a lot in there that people can kind of look at and figure out, hey, this is me, this isn't me, and the parts that aren't me, I'm okay with that. It works for someone, it just doesn't work for me.
That's really powerful that you put a piece of yourself into your own book as far as how you change and whatnot. Off-topic question, really weird question. So have you pictured like your hardback book yet?
I have, yes. I have no experience with graphic design, but I know what I want it to look like.
What's the back page gonna be? The back page where it shows the author doing this, in front of a river.
Still finding the perfect river for that. Don't worry, as long as we get some rain coming, I can probably find a river here. I've been thinking about what I want that blurb to say. I really just want it to bring people in, make them think like, yes, that's me. This is what I've been looking for. And I feel like people will feel it in their souls. They'll just know when they find something, it just speaks to them. And so it hasn't come out yet, but it's still.
It'll come to you.
Exactly. I got about 2 weeks to figure that out.
What did you learn throughout this whole book writing process? Given up to the dates up to today.
There's a lot that I learned, but do you mean about me specifically, or about writing?
Just
books?
In general, like writing a book, it's not easy writing a book, always back your stuff up because the dog or cat's gonna pee on your computer. You just never know.
Back your stuff up. I have about 3 different copies of every chapter. There's about 60 different Google Docs altogether of me putting this book together. It was a labor of love, but I'd say intention matters. I had that solid intention of this is my love message to the world.
Love message. Yes, serious.
I wanted to be a therapist because I knew that I cared strongly about helping others. I didn't always care in the most healthy ways. I thought that taking on others' pain would somehow help them. Instead, all it did was it broke me down, and I found myself crying one day over pain that wasn't even mine to carry. And I realized that I have to find a healthier way to care about people and to help them, because what I'm doing now isn't working.
I see.
So the book was me saying, hey, I can't necessarily be there for you personally to help you carry that pain, but I believe in you enough that I can show you how to get through whatever it is you're getting through. And so it was my healthy way of expressing my love for humanity, and yet not taking on other people's pain. And so that intention was what guided the book, and I don't know, every time I sat down to write, the right words just came out. I feel very fortunate for the process.
That whole description you just gave me does sum up the intention of the book.
Yes.
That's perfectly, take a snippet of that and slap that on the back of the book.
Yeah, I'll have to rewatch this and be like, man, that was good.
Yeah, that was good. Jake guy knows what he's talking about.
Sometimes. Act is it.
So, with the book, hardback coming out possibly in 2 weeks or so?
That's the goal,
Okay.
is to have it out, at the end of October. We're going into the holiday season, one of the most stressful times of the year. Right after that, we have New Year's, great time for people to start thinking about making changes in their life.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really timely book. There's a lot going on in the world, especially our country, that's not pretty right now. I used to be really cynical, look at all the bad, I let it weigh me down. We know the bad's out there, but we gotta start looking for the good, look for our strengths, our personal collective strengths, look for how we can work together, stop focusing on problems, start looking towards solutions and say like, all right, this is the shit we got, what are we gonna do about it?
I was about to ask you, if you could quickly summarize, who and why should someone buy your book, but that was essentially it right there.
Yeah, I mean, I could elaborate on that, but it helps with personal growth, relationships, making sense of your family. I know not everyone has a good relationship with their family, so there's a chapter on that. Goal setting, you got to figure out exactly what it is you're aiming towards. There's really anything you're going through in life. There's pretty much a chapter that you'll come across and be like, that's what I needed.
How many chapters is it?
It's 25 chapters. 10 of them are actual models of family therapy, so they're empirically validated. I read books by the founders of each of those models, as well as there's the other chapters are chapters me detailing my personal experience of using the model so that people can go, oh, that's what that looks like. And really get a feel of, okay, here's how I can do that in my own life. Just showing people, here's what it looks like in theory, and here's what it looks like in practice.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I love the intention. I love the layout of it. I'm excited to check it out.
Yeah.
But for now, it is only available on his Instagram page.
Yes.
And his Instagram profile is?
Jake Ryan _MFTT. That's Marriage and Family Therapist Trainee.
I'm putting my hands out because it's going to be right above here.
Yeah.
All right, well, that is pretty much it. And that is Jake's book, Be Your Own Therapist. Check out his Instagram page right here.
Cool, man.
Thank you.
It's good talking with you.
And cut.
Get me in the